They go toe-to-toe to the bell. Been floored by the headshot. Refusing to lose. Refusing to give up. Astonishing right hook to the head.
Respect isn't given, it's earned. In blood.
Boxing King Media, we're back again for episode 2, and it's called the Be Safe Podcast. That's the name we've chosen. I never in a million years thought I'd get Tyan Booth back on. It's been 6 months, hundreds of unanswered text messages, calls, but we managed to find you in Nottingham in some random shisha lounge. I'm not even going to shout out what it's called because it's bloody freezing, mate. But you're alive, Tyan. How are you?
I'm alive, you know. I'm good. How are you? I'm all right. Back in Nottingham. 20 years in Sheffield at the Ingle Gym. Not even an area title. 20 years, but I had some good times here, so I don't really regret it, you know what I mean? But
You won the Dudley title.
Yeah, little... I don't know where the belt is now. You know, since I moved, I think I left the belt in the bedsit in Sheffield, but try and get a few more. So I've been training, I've been on it a bit.
I think the first thing I've got to ask you is, like, 6 months is a long time. I've had so many messages from the cult asking me where the hell you've gone to, what's happened to you. Conspiracies, there's been so many conspiracies about you as well. I'm sure you've heard some of them. The biggest one is that you're on remand. You're on remand for something, for all sorts of stuff that they made up. So, was you on remand, Tyan?
No, I wasn't on remand, you know. I've been clean, you know, for a while. I haven't committed any crimes for a long time, so no crimes involved. I know people want to try and pin stuff on me, you know what I mean, and come up with a little conspiracy theories, but yeah, I just moved back to Nottingham, that's about it really. 20 years in Sheffield, and now I'm back in Nottingham. I got this YouTube thing going on, so I can just travel around, you know, and just like make money in any part of the world. So why sit in a little bedsit in Sheffield, you know, in some dump on my own, getting drunk? I had to get out of there, you know, come back home. You know, Kirtland Lang from Nottingham. I think Steve Bunce did a documentary on him.
He was a great fighter.
Yeah, he beat Roberto Duran, but he kind of squandered the money, you know, and then ended up broke and homeless with a big beard, a big dirty afro. He fell off a balcony as well and died, so... You know, if I didn't fix up and get on this YouTube, it's like... It's easy money, innit? Sitting here having a little shisha. Nice little Pakistani tea.
It's Iraqi tea, innit?
Is it?
This is an Iraqi place, as the guy just told us. He didn't have many good things to say about what was going on up in that part of the world, but yeah, Iraqi tea, mate.
Do you feel like you're trying to push an agenda, you know, in your videos?
And we love pushing agendas, innit?
Because I seen your interview with Dominic, and he was saying to you, he doesn't watch the news. He doesn't pay attention to it because there's a lot of fake news. A lot of people with different agendas and opinions. So he doesn't watch the news. And you said, yeah, I agree. You're totally right there. But then you said, but if anybody is interested in what's going on in Dubai, go and listen to Tucker Carlson.
He did quite a good breakdown of what's going on.
That's what I'm saying, that's an agenda, innit? That's his opinion. Dominic's not really interested in it. And some people say, why are you talking about that on a boxing channel?
Because we like to be
What's
different.
your channel, innit? But
we like to be different, innit? We can talk about anything. Like this podcast here. If you're listening for the first time, this isn't your normal boxing chit chat. We're going to talk about life, a bit of dark humour, slightly filtered, some dry humour, and yeah, just talking shit basically. That's could have even called it Talking Shit Podcast, but Be Safe Podcast sounds good. I think we're going to stick with that because that's what you're. And when people see you, that's what they shout out, don't they?
well, it's Kruger who told me to be safe. Do you know what I mean? He told me to be safe.
Is it copyrighted?
Kruger told me to be safe at a Dillian White event. I think it was like a public workout. And he told me to be safe. But Johnny Nelson came up to me before that saying, oh, you're brave coming here. You know, with all these people here that you've slagged off in boxing. I rate you. So Kruger telling me to be safe. I thought he was just like saying, oh, be careful. But then I start to think about it. He might be like, watch your back. You know, because I've slagged him off over the years.
He's still alive?
How are you two getting on? It must be awkward, you know, like boxing events.
Nah. Well, awkward in what sense?
Well, when you walk past somebody and you know it's like tense,
No.
and you said that he puts his head down, like he can't make eye contact with you.
I think it'd be awkward if you were scared of someone.
No fear of Coogan at all.
No fear, mate. Only fear God.
No
That's
fear of his bent legs.
it. No fear
wrapping
at
you up.
all. Only fear God, mate. That's it.
Yeah?
Nobody else. So you can't fear man. Let's talk a little bit about where you've been, because I think people are like curious. Because I've been watched a couple of the lives that you did the other day on the TYFL channel.
TYFL TV.
TYFL TV.
You don't want to shout me out, no?
Shout out Ty. We can collab these videos now. Did you know that? So what post is we're going to collab it. So when I collab it, if you're watching Tyan for the first time, subscribe to his channel as well, because he does regular lives on there, and he does the most random things like catching trains and walking in the town centres live, interacting with homeless people, all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like boxing's a small sport, so you know these people here, for example, where are they from? Iraq. Well, I don't know any Iraqi boxers, but even like they're in England. So who's a world champion in England? Dalton Smith, or even Lee Wood. We're in Nottingham, aren't we? So do you think they would know Lee Wood?
I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. Like boxing's a small sport, yeah. But if I want to grow, I need to be like go beyond just boxing. But I will kind of cover it because it's been quite interesting recently, hasn't it? So
Definitely.
now I'm back in Nottingham. I was in a tent, then I was in a homeless shelter.
Let's talk about the tent. We're going to do it in a timeline. I want to talk about the tent because I was looking forward to doing a podcast in that tent. I had it all pictured. We're going to be sat on the embankment with the river flowing by. You sat on the, with some beans on a fire or something. But it's fucking gone. What happened?
It's quite interesting because, like, you know, my pride, it wouldn't allow the cameras in, you know, because of the existence that I was living in. So I didn't want to draw attention to it. There are people laughing and, oh, this guy here, he was a professional boxer, now he's in a tent. A bit like Curtin and Lang. So, but really, when you think about it, you know, if you like document those kind of like experiences, you can blow up, you know, and buy fucking thousands of tents, you know, on houses and stuff like that. So, yeah, sometimes I'm just going to document it. That's why I bought this phone here, you know, to like get on it.
So you've had a phone upgrade?
Yeah, I've got an iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Smashed it.
So I'm a few levels below the 17, isn't it? But
What was the last one, was it?
that's what I'm saying though. When I get to a point where it's like an expense, you know, where it's like tax deductible and all that stuff. I think I got fined £100, you know, for a late tax return.
So the tent, from what you said on the live, council came and took it.
Yeah, they put a notice on it because I had a job, you know, that you gave me a reference for. So the tent was near the City Ground, football ground. And my job at the casino when I was a receptionist was about a 20-minute walk from the tent. So I used to try and get dressed. I had to get dressed in the tent, you know, putting my trousers on, and my shirt and my tie, and my blazer, my little name badge, and like walk to work. You know, have a bottle of water and my toothbrush and my toothpaste, and brush my teeth on the way to work. You know what I mean? You know, that kind of thing. So it was an interesting experience, but we stepped up a few levels.
So what happened with the notice? You went back to your tent?
Yeah, they put a notice on there because I used to get up and go to work. So when I came back, there was a notice on there saying you got a month to take the tent down. But I stayed it out, grinded it out for about a month or two, and then just made the move.
So from the tent, before you moved, wherever you moved, I understand the bedsit in Sheffield, bailiffs come in.
Yeah, man, I got evicted.
What?
It was like a voluntary eviction because I had the job in Nottingham and I wanted to go back. So I got family there, like old friends here. I got a daughter there that I ain't seen for about 10 years as well. So I wanted to move back. So I thought, forget the bedsit, just let them evict me. I'll build up money from the job, you know, and like get pay slips from the job and a contract. It was like 3 months I was on probation, but I didn't pass probation because he said I ain't got the face for a reception. He said I don't smile enough. I'm not bubbly enough. You know what I mean? My customer service skills weren't on point. So I didn't pass probation. And I got evicted from the bedsit. They took the tent down. So I was kind of like, I was in an interesting position, but it's like ducking and diving, innit? I used to play Premier Manager. I used to love it. And that's what I've been doing, playing Premier Manager. So we'll see where you'll see where I end up. I used to manage like a little shit team to start off with and like build them up. You know, the main players. Don't put them on the pitch when it's not a really important game, because they might get injured. Give them enough time on the pitch, you know, to get like match fit, but don't risk them getting injured or suspended or whatever. Premier manager.
So, watching you live, you said you had some sort of altercation with a couple of customers at the casino, which is ultimately the downfall and losing the job there. Just tell us what happened in that altercation.
A couple of Indians came in, a couple of men. I had to check their ID. I have to check everyone's ID, make sure they're not barred from the casino. So I have to check their ID, get their name, their date of birth, type it in. So these two Indians have come in. They've given me a couple of Indian passports. So I've like looked at the passport, it's all in Indian. So I can't find where the date of birth is or the name. So I said, where's this from? What's this? Where's this passport from? You know what I mean? You know, being a bit rude. What's all this? Like dropping it, giving it back to them like that. You know, rude customer service. I was a bit too casual. So I didn't pass probation. And they got rid of me, you know, after 3 months. But
Do you reckon it was only that one incident that lost you the job? Was there a few more?
no, there's a few more, you know.
Everything's good, yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks for that.
It's good customer service. See, that's what they wanted from you.
Yeah, it's the fake smiling, you know, Joshua. Oh, I can't do all that. You know, Moses Atoma, I've been watching interviews of him. It's like he can't be bothered. And I like the fact that he doesn't like try to make an effort. But I don't know if I like him. Because he's just like, whatever. Or I think, oh, this guy's too boring, man.
Well, funnily enough, I interviewed him 3 hours ago. He won the British Boxer Young Fighter of the Year award. He wasn't bothered about it. He goes, this ain't my life goal. I want to do more than this.
Do you think they need to have a personality in boxing? I suppose Joshua didn't really have a personality, did he? And he was like kind of, he did well like financially, you know, at boxing.
So the bailiffs, the rock up, did they take your things? Why did they send bailiffs? I don't get it.
What are they going to do? Send a little woman to the house and try and get me out of there? They're going to send 2 big men round up with like cameras. You know what I mean? So they came round.
Did they try taking your stuff?
Give me a couple of days to like take everything out of there. So I went to Arnold Clark, hired a car for the day, picked up some bin bags and just took them to Nottingham. Dumped them in someone's loft for 50 quid. So I checked out some storage places and they were trying to charge like £80 a month. You know, just for a few bin bags. So I just found someone who I know, dropped a few bin bags in their loft and gave them 50 quid. And yeah, no more bedsit.
Is there any chance them
I should have
bailiffs?
bought it, you know.
You what?
I should have bought it. You know, when I was on it, I got into gambling. You know, like, Liam Cameron, Dave Allen. But yeah, I messed up, man. But
That's the thing
like I
that
say, it's playing Premier Manager here for me.
that's the thing that does my head in here, because you worked towards buying. The goal was to buy that flat, and now you can't.
Before that, even the goal was to monetize the channel, build up the money, yeah, buy the flat, so I got something to show. Because it was a council flat, and I was there for 15 years. So when you're in a council flat, after about 5 years, you can buy it. You got a right to buy it, and you get 50% off. And then every year after that, it's 1%. So I'd have got a big discount. You know what I mean? So really, I messed up with it.
When
But that's what I'm saying. I'm optimistic because people keep coming up to me and bigging me up. You know, when I went to Misfits yesterday in Derby, little white man with glasses came up to me and asking for a picture. So all this kind of motivates me. And like I said, I can go anywhere in the world and make money. So it wasn't doom and gloom. You know, when I was kind of going through all that, I knew it could have been content as well, but yeah, I felt a bit ashamed at the same time. You know what I mean?
You know, when the bailiffs came round, what were your neighbours doing? Because when bailiffs come round, because the neighbours do get nosy, don't they?
Yeah, this fat cunt who lived a few doors up from me just stood there watching. You know what I mean? Getting ready to write a little Facebook status about it. But I was glad to get away from those kind of people.
Have you read some of these?
But that's the highlight of the day, though, isn't it? Someone getting kicked out of a bedsit. That's the EastEnders moment, innit? But I got to go beyond that kind of level.
Have you seen if somebody else has moved in there now?
No.
No.
Someone did some paintings, you know, some nice canvases of when Joshua told me to get out of his gym. And I had it hung up in my wall, you know, in the bedsit. But I left it there.
That was iconic.
I know. I took a picture of it, so I'm gonna try and get hold of the artist, you know, to get him to do another one. So
What are you more gutted about, losing that painting or the belt from Dudley?
yeah, that belt meant nothing. Because the guy I beat for the belt, he came up to me before the fight in the changing rooms, you know, trying to be all nice and friendly. Saying, oh, I didn't know you had that many fights. I didn't know you boxed Eubank. I've only had a few fights. So it's not like a great feat, is it, beating this guy?
What's the shisha saying? Is it good?
Doesn't really do anything for me. You know, like the other stuff. You know, I watched you interview Sonny Edwards. You know, when he's with that fighter that he's training from Nottingham, DSL.
Yeah.
I watched that before I came in.
Have you heard of him?
Is he still blazing, Sonny? I remember when he did the interview, he looked really high, all red and that. He said he's managing about 15 fighters, so he can afford it, yeah?
I think managers make the most money in boxing.
25%.
Easiest job and they make the most money.
That's what I'm saying. I thought the manager should take more, because they're with the boxer every day. Like,
You mean
they treat
trainer?
twice a day. Sorry, the trainer.
Yeah.
I thought the trainer should get like the 25%.
Did you make any friends in the casino job?
No, I wasn't there for long enough.
No.
And I'm not good with small talk. And I wasn't there for long enough to get to like medium talk or above. So it was just like chit chat.
You
And a
pull
lot of
any,
them were Polish as well.
you learn any
So
Polish?
there's a bit of a language barrier. I was getting trained by like this fat Polish woman. And she kept going on about her husband and kid.
Didn't have no affairs then?
No, none of that.
Learned any
Well, there was a
Polish?
few women who went to the casino, you know, who were waiting outside for me afterwards. But you know, because the manager of the casino said we're not allowed to mess around with people who go to the casino, because we could give them free chips, you know, free drinks or whatever. So I had to turn these 3 women down who were waiting. They were like 3 out of 10. I had to turn them down. You know, when I finished work at 6 a.m, they were still waiting there for me, all drunk. We had a little chat on reception. They were asking me to get in a taxi with them and go back to theirs, but you know, because I was like committed to the job in a way, on and off.
It's a shame the manager couldn't see that bit. That could have saved the job.
I'm not gonna beg for it. When I was there, I was always like thinking about, you know, Brendan talking about that fuck off man. This job was just paycheck to paycheck, week by week, you know what I mean? And they were all slagging each other off behind each other's back, what nice to each other's face. I thought, nah, these people aren't for me, you know. I'm gonna get out of here and make that money, you know what I mean? That fuck off money.
See, I feel like we've had this conversation before about the fuck off money and changing things. What's going to make you stay on it this time?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying to you. It's like you keep going back to that, but I have made changes. The fact that I'm in Nottingham, yeah? The fact that I started going to the gym. The fact that I got this phone to start recording. The fact that I've started doing lives again. I got my channel going again. Like, you know what I mean? There have been changes. And that's just what you know about, what I'm telling you now.
You know, talking of fuck off money, there's one fighter that had the most fuck off money ever. 1 billion is reported to have made Floyd Mayweather. He's pissed it all that down the drain, and he's now got 3 fights coming up. He's risking his O at 49 years old to fight Manny Pacquiao in a professional fight. So sometimes fuck off money, even that's not enough.
Yeah, but I think that's wishful thinking on your part, you know, of Mayweather. You want him to be broke.
I do.
You know, because he takes money from those little huts. You know what I mean? And there's a bit of a conflict going on. So again, it's like you're trying to push an agenda. You're trying to tarnish Mayweather.
I'm
Because
just,
of where you're taking
I'm
money
just
from.
talking what's been reported. I'm not making stuff
Yeah,
up.
but how do you know about when you say broke? It
It's
might
actually-
be broke to you though. And to these people here, me, boy, come on. Do you
but-
really think he's broke?
At 49 years old, why would you risk your that you're known as one of the greatest boxers of all time? You're risking that because he wanted an exhibition. This is what Pacquiao said. So everything I'm telling you is factual. Pacquiao said he wanted an exhibition. Pacquiao said no, it's going to be a professional fight, and Pacquiao is the lead promoter in that show. This is all factual stuff that's out
So
there.
you're saying he's doing it for the money, but when he had millions and millions back years ago, he was still doing this and that.
But that
Yeah, I
was
seen him on a dancing show, and he already had money. So, but they might own him. He might not be able to just like leave. I don't know what kind of contract he's got going on with those guys, but they might own him. They might be trying to push an agenda. So they're using Mayweather. I heard he was dancing for some Israeli soldiers, you know, in his boxing gloves, like a little a little lap dance or something.
Would you ever want to be controlled like that for fuck off money?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, most people are controlled, innit? Like, when I was in the job, you had to ring up the manager to ask if you could go for a piss. So most people are controlled anyway.
Now, if you got a
But I
phone
think
call,
with people like Brendan, when Brendan used to talk about that fuck off money, he was just sat in the gym, watching the sparring, taking people on the pads, talking to people, going to the sauna, and he loved boxing. So in a way, he was kind of free, wasn't he? He wasn't really controlled like that.
so if you got a call from the same people that are allegedly controlling Mayweather saying, Tyan, we think you can push this for us, we'll pay you some money, would you do it?
But they might own me to the point where they might try and get me to do something, you know, to like people of a certain age. So I'm not really on it, you know, like who was talking about beating babies and stuff like that? Was it Dana White about Eddie Hearn or some nonsense like that? Who knows what I'll have to do, you know, if I do sign that contract. So, but I definitely want money, but it's like how much you need.
But apparently they're not paid a lot of the people, they're taking them to court. That's another, them people that are paying people to push agendas, they've apparently not paid quite a lot of celebrities for their contracts and they've been taken to court for it.
Yeah, I don't know the ins. I'm like Dominic Ingle in that regard.
See, I read a lot of stuff, so
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You might be reading fake news and you're taking it as real.
no,
You might be fooled by AI as well.
I've researched it. I would never mention it if it was just completely
Well,
false.
you're a boxing man, innit?
A bit-
So you've only got like a certain amount of time on your hand. You can't be researching boxing and then the other stuff, which is
I do
layers
believe
and
it.
layers and layers. You're telling me you don't know. You can't tell me you know the ins and outs of it all.
I read enough. I like to be. I like to have knowledge a bit of everything, so you can talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, but Dominic can. He doesn't follow the news, and people love listening to Dominic's interviews. So you don't need to know about what's going on in Palestine and all that. Driving around in your little Palestinian flag. What's that gonna do?
yeah, driving around with a flag ain't going to change nothing, is it?
Nothing.
With regards to, you just mentioned Eddie Hearn and this Conor Benn thing. I've asked a lot of people about this. In that $15 million call comes in, and obviously knowing what Eddie's done for Conor, I'd say a lot of people have basically said he should have rang him, etc. Put yourself in Conor Benn's shoes. What would you do if that $15 million call comes in to fight a super lightweight?
You're saying that Eddie Hearn's done this and done that for him. What, give him a couple of $100,000? That's what record executives do. They give the artists like an advance, you know, money up front. And then when they start making a profit, when they start selling your CDs or whatever, take back the money. So that's what it's like, a loan, isn't it? I thought they're mates anyway. Why does he have to give it back? You know, if you got a $1 billion company, £1 billion company, why do you have to ask your mate for like a couple of $100,000 back? It's business, innit? Eddie Hearn recouped that money, plus some, you know, with the Eubank Junior fights. So it's like an investment, innit? It's a good investment, and it paid off.
So you do the same thing?
Well, I can't put because I don't know what their relationship was. Say if it was Brendan, I probably would have done the same as Johnny. I probably would have said, Brendan, I'm being offered this 15 million. I'm gonna take it. I'll give you a couple of million or whatever we worked out. You know what I mean? Because
What do you think of Conor's new hairstyle?
the thing is, like, you know, Eddie Hearn saying him and Conor were like mates and that, because Conor lives in Essex and he's always in the matchroom gym and the offices and stuff like that. But that was the same with Kruger, wasn't it? He was up and down the motorway with Eddie Hearn. Up and down the motorway, going to his offices, you know, to interview him and stuff like that. But then Kruger got interviewed by that Ellie Suckback years ago. And Ellie asked him about his friendship with Eddie Hearn. Kruger said, we're not really friends. And Ellie's like, yeah, but you know, you're always driving up and down the motorway laughing and all that. And Kruger's like, yeah, but it's just business, isn't it? So that might be the case with Eddie Hearn and Conor. You know what I mean? It's just business, isn't it? Because he started like hugging that Benn, you know, and acting like they're best mates. And he's only just met him, hasn't he? So I don't know, not really buying it. He's saying Joshua's a totally different guy. Don't mention Joshua and Conor in the same sentence. Joshua's different, but he's got that lifetime contract with Joshua. You know what I mean? So Joshua's not going anywhere, is it?
In other news, you've seen Carl Froch and John Fury have it out recently as well.
You call that having it out, yeah?
Who would who would you back in a street fight? Forget a boxing match, in a street fight.
Well, I've always wondered about that nose of Frotcher's. You know, one pop on that plastic nose of Frotcher's. What happens? His eyes start watering, I don't know. He's had his jaw chiseled as well. If you look at pictures of him back in the day to now, he's had his jaw like chiseled.
How do you get that done?
I don't know, but I did read about it, but I can't remember. I think they like cut a bit somewhere or whatever. But if you can get your nose done and your cheekbones and your ears pinned back and this and that, sure they could chisel this down a bit. But in the streets, John Fury's never had a fight, has he? You know, when you watch these gypsy documentaries, they never talk about the Furies. You know, when they talk about all of these fighting families, you never hear about the Furies. And you know, Peter Fury, he had one fight and he quit.
But I've been
And he never
told,
boxed again.
I've been told travellers have fights on the streets that you just don't never hear about. Fights on sites, etc.
Yeah, but these people with phones about all the time, I don't know. Where are these Furies, you know, that are so-called fighting men? How come I recorded them fighting in the streets?
There were no phones
Big
25
fighting
years
men.
ago.
Well, they are now, and they're still saying they're fighting men, aren't they?
But 25 years ago, there were no phones.
But when you talk, but they're still saying they're fighting men. So if they were fighting men, you see Tommy Fury having a scrap. You see Rome Fury, or whatever his name is. Roman Fury. You see the other ones. What's that guy with the big chin? Tyson's son. What's his name?
Tyson's
Prince.
son. Oh yeah.
You see him fighting in the street. You don't really see him. No one captures them fighting. I don't know if they are fighting there.
Do you think you'd have?
Frotch on the bags. It looks alright. I used to share a bag with Frotch back in the day, you know, in the amateur gym. And he used to whack it, put a big dent in it. And the gym would be staring at him, you know, smashing up the bag. That Polish grit that he had. And I was just tapping it. He's about 8 years older than me.
I found something out about Frotch today. Obviously, I've literally come from the British Boxing Board Awards straight to the cult leader. Do you know which fighter? I think they've been doing the Boxing Awards since 1984. Guess which fighters won the Boxer of the Year most?
Carl Frotch.
4 times. That's some record, isn't it? He won 3 of them back to back, 3 years in a row. Then he won 1, I think, a few years earlier. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but it's the genetics, innit? He can't help being Polish. So it's like he's lucky. You know what I mean? He's always had somebody there like to sort of like give him that boost. Ron McCracken, sports psychologist. Who else has he had? He used to have this trainer called Dale McPhilbin back in the amateur days, you know, really pumping him up, really trying to encourage him to get in the ring to spar with Ricardo Sams. You know what I mean?
Tell me about this new place then, where you're living now.
It's a house in Nottingham, 3 bedrooms. Couple of foreigners in there. Couple of Muslims.
What country?
You know what I mean? Horrible.
What country are they from?
I ain't even got that far with them. Because it's just like a quick hello.
Are they like brown,
One of them
black?
brought one of their mates round.
Are they
His
white,
mate was
brown
like
or black?
totally black. One of them brought their mates round. Black guy, black African guy, started talking really loudly on his phone. You know, waking me up and that. So I went downstairs to make my porridge. And he's like in the living room, you know, on the settee, like talking really loudly on his phone. I'm making my porridge, my blueberries. And it's finished, I take it upstairs to the bedroom to eat it. He's come upstairs after me, talking on the phone, you know what I mean? So I've had a go at him. I said, listen, what are you doing making all this noise, man? You don't live here, what are you doing? Fucking walking up and down the steps, banging, opening doors, talking loudly on your phone. You don't live here. But you haven't been around since. I like nipped it in the bud, you know, from early. So I was there first, so it's like, I'm like the man of the house. Ordered a new Hoover, hoovered up. The next day, one of them dropped a load of washing powder in the kitchen, you know, and didn't clean it up. So yeah, a few little politics, but...
Do they speak English?
This is what I mean, I'm above that, I'm above that. So there's no point in me chinning them and getting locked up. I may as well just go for it, you know, with this YouTube. Get in there, have another fight again. But not smoke, you know, up until a week of the fight. Like I did in Dudley the first time.
What's the hygiene levels like of this these flatmates.
You see the toilet, yeah? I have to wipe it with an antibacterial hand wipe. Once I've done that, put loads of tissue around the toilets. You know, put a bit of tissue at the front, you know, so I can just let my fingers drop down without touching the bowl. Trying to flush it without touching it, you know what I mean? Because they've touched it with their shitty hands. And they're wiping their arse with their bare hands, yeah? Is that the culture? Is that the culture?
I don't know, everyone's different, aren't they? You use a plastic glove, don't you?
Go to the local petrol station, pull out loads of like blue plastic gloves, you know, like 20 of them. To last me about a month. So I can really get in there with a glove on my hands, soap and water. You know, really cleaning myself nicely. But yeah, I won't be with these scumbags for long. I won't be with them for long at all. I'm gonna go on a mission. I'm gonna do like travel vlogs, Airbnb vlogs. Really get the bag.
What do you do with the gloves, by the way? I'm just curious. Do you just take a new glove every time then?